Hello, my name is Aaron Underwood, and I have a simple question for you. So, how many of us have had our childhood just completely owned by Disney? Whether it be Cinderella, Toy Story, all sorts of the different films that they've made a huge impact on our childhood. So what's their secret? Well, there's a lot of secrets that go into making a feature film. But in this speech, I'd like to tell you the 12, well, at least 6, because time constraints, but I'd like to tell you 6 of the 12 principles of animation and how animators use them and provide examples of each principle. Now, the reason that I'd like to go into this is because Disney themselves, Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston, Disney animators, big shots inside the animation department of Disney, they're the ones who wrote The Illusion of Life, which the 12 principles are based in. So they came up with these concepts from the beginning of Disney. They're very old and very wise people. So, the first thing I'd like to talk to you guys is about squash and stretch principle. So this is the concept that objects will get longer or flatter when they're inside momentum. So for you guys, I have a question for you again. Which one of these is a water balloon and which one of them is a bowling ball? Any takers? Well, animators can't really express it just through color and all that jazz, but they also use it through momentum. So say we dropped both of these little balls down. One of them would stay solid, the other one would flatten out and form to the ground and then go back and reshape into its original form, thus being the water balloon. So that squash and stretch principle allows people to visually understand how soft something is or how stiff something is, and it allows people to get a handle on that kind of principle. The next part I'd like to talk about is anticipation. And in anticipation, it helps communicate actions to the audience by preparing them for the main action. So in this little doodle, I made you guys a little picture of a guy jumping. And he sits there, and then he coils up like a spring, builds up power, and then he launches off. The reason that this is important is because without it, he just takes off like Superman. And if you're communicating jumping, that simply takes away from all the realism and takes away the audience out of the illusion of life that you're creating for them. So that's one of the main reasons I have this inside the work. That's one of the main reasons they have this as a principle. The second is a lot more, the third actually, the third is a lot more broad, and it is called staging. Staging is the presentation of any idea so that it is completely and unmistakably clear. And this goes into analysis for the acting, the timing, the camera angle position, and the setting. So for this example, I made you guys a little comic where the guy, there's a caution sign on a little nook right there. And the guy's singing, whistling along, then he trips on the nook. And then he falls on his face, thud. And then like a friend of his laughs at him, and then he's sad. And so that's basically the whole idea. But the reason I have that there, this is a comic, not animation. In animation, that's all seamlessly going through. So what it is just directing the audience's eyes for where they need to be. If I had the guy laughing before the other guy who tripped even appeared, it would take away from the illusion. They're all competing for the audience's attention, and then they get a mixed jumble of what they're supposed to get. It also applies to character design. If, say, a character is mad, make him madder. If he's sad, make him sadder. Kind of one of the reasons that you have a little cloud over people's head or have steam coming out of their ears is to exemplify that. So the next step would be straight ahead and pose-to-pose principle. So this is more for animators than it is for audience. So the straight ahead and pose-to-pose, straight ahead is essentially, these are both animation methods. So animation for straight ahead, and you basically animate as you go. You draw the first drawing, second drawing, third drawing, fourth drawing, fifth drawing, and so on. You just keep going. When it comes, and that's great, but pose-to-pose, you draw the first pose and the last pose and then the middle pose, and then draw the things in between so they end up where they need to be. If you did this straight ahead, you could have a smaller character on the other end, or you could have him miss the jump because you weren't paying attention, and it catches anything that's awkward in between. But straight ahead is actually perfect for unpredictable movements, such as fire effects, explosions, and such. So that's the fourth principle. The fifth principle is follow-through and overlapping action. Now, follow-through is the parts of the body that continue to move after the main body has stopped, like flowing hair, or in this little doodle I made for you, it's a resting little flower in a pot, then I shove the pot and the flower's dragging behind, and then he steps on a rock and the flower follows through, floofing, and then goes back into resting position. So overlapping action describes the offset between when the timing in the main body and the other parts. So basically, the resting position is where it should be, and then and those 2 points where it drags and follows through. That's it. That's the offset between the two. Drag is essentially right here, and they're all three: drag, overlapping action, and follow through. They're all different aspects of the same type of idea. So that's the example for that. Next example would be next principle: slow in and slow out. So in this the movement starts slowly, builds up speed, and then finishes slowly. And if without it, it can make things feel mechanical, because robots are the only thing that actually move at a constant speed. So for this, I doodled a dude on a little bike. So he starts off slowly, he builds up speed as he pedals along, then he's coasting along, barely having to pedal because he's already built up so much speed. Then he starts braking. He doesn't stop immediately when he brakes. He starts slowing down, and then he stops. So the slow in, slow out principle is applied to many things. You wouldn't apply it to, say, a bullet coming out of a gun, but you would apply it to a person on a bike. It allows a lot more, take away from the mechanical aspects and add it more to human aspects, animal aspects, anything that is alive, more so. So those are 6 of the main 12 principles of animation. The other ones are arcs, secondary action, timing, exaggeration, solid drawing, and appeal. I told you the 6 of the 12. Animation told you how they are used and when they are used, and gave you examples of each principle. For further research, I highly recommend talking to Alan Becker tutorials or looking them up online. He has basically a one-on-one course on the subject. He does a much better presentation than I do. And he uses Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston, 2 amazing Disney animators that created the book Illusion of Life. Also, if you want more research on the topic, I recommend Animator Survival Kit by Richard Williams. This concludes our speech, and thank you very much for watching.